This video will show you how to use the service software to test the capability of the air compressor to see whether or not it will provide enough airflow to the MCX5. The requirements to do this is first that the MCX5 must be assembled, connected to the PC, communicating. The PC should have the inLab CAM software and its associated service software already installed. And then the air compressor needs to be connected to the MCX5 along with the vacuum pump. So to do this test, we'll go into the service software. So we'll click on Programs, go down to Serona Dental Systems, click on inLab CAM, then Tools, then select Service. Then we'll get into the service the normal way. And from there, we'll go ahead and select the MCX5 as the milling unit, and then click OK. Sometimes they'll take a little second before the OK will highlight as it connects. And then from there, we're going to go into Media Supply. Now, to test the air compressor, we're going to run simultaneously 3 of the 4 air tests. So the air tests are the valve sealing air spindle, the valve blast air, and the valve boost air. There's another air test called the valve chuck tool. We do not want to run this. We want to run these 3 at the same time. Now first, you can see that the system air pressure right here, this should immediately say yes, which means that there's enough air being fed into the MCX5, but right now it's not under load. So now what we want to do is run these 3 tests by clicking on the green dots. They'll turn red as the test is activated. And we want to run all 3 and then watch to see whether or not the system pressure goes to red and fails. Now the goal on this is to run these tests and deplete the air reservoir in the compressor, so the compressor has to turn on. So this may take a few minutes, and one of the things that you'll need to do is to monitor the air compressor to see when it kicks on. Now some air compressors, the air pressure will drop, and then when it kicks back on, it'll build the air pressure back up and fill up the air tank. What we want to see is when that air compressor kicks on, is it kicking on at too low of a pressure? The MCX5 needs at least 100 psi, and most compressors, they usually pump up to about 120, 150 psi, and then they're regulated down to what is required for this unit, around 100 psi. But as the air pressure drops and the tank gets depleted, there is a kick-on air pressure setting. And this air pressure setting needs to be approximately 100 psi. Some air compressors may kick on at 80, and you may see this turn red, that indicating that the pressure is too low, and then eventually it will kick back up and get above 100 psi. Air compressors should be adjusted so that they never go below 100 psi. So that's what you're doing here, and as you can see right here, a green is still indicating that enough air is coming in. On this test here, our air compressor is running, and so we can have the capability of running this unit without any problems. One other thing that you need to know is that some labs may not have a dedicated air compressor, which means that the air compressor is being used for other purposes in the lab, such as maybe blowing off restorations, things like that. So when you do this test, first do it with no other load other than the MCX5, just to make sure that the compressor can handle it. And then what you need to do is find out what other equipment is using air, or if a lab person is using air to blow off things, they need to also fully load the air system while we're doing this test to see whether or not these additional drains on the air is going to have a problem with the MCX5. So once you're finished here, you go ahead and to turn the test off, you just click again on the red circles, and that will turn off the air test, and then from there you'll see whether or not you have a problem. To close out, we'll go ahead and click back, then exit, and we're back to where we should be.